the buzz that you get when you're on set with like-minded people is just the best feeling in the world. And then when you see something that you've been working on go live on TV, or it's on social media and people are talking about it, or you work on a film and you've created something so beautifully to look at, it's just the most euphoric feeling in the world.
Hello, it's Zoe, and welcome back to the Mischief Movement podcast, your weekly inspo for people looking for more hell yeah in their life. Consider this your one-way ticket out of midlife mediocrity towards fun and positive impact via playful disruption. Wouldn't you love to wake up and feel like a total badass? How about breaking some rules, throwing 2 fingers up to society and doing more of the things you love? I'm talking full-on freedom, adventure, and those meaningful connections I know you've been craving. Stop waiting for your amazing life to happen and go get it! I'll be picking the brains of some true game changers and mischief makers so I can share what I find and hopefully inspire you to shake things up, do more of what makes you feel alive, and boldly rebel against the ordinary. I've no idea what I'm doing, to be honest, but I've got a mission and I'm here to start a movement. It's going to be quite the adventure. Care to join me? Okay, here goes. This week, I'm speaking to Nikita Dare, founder and creative director of female-led production agency Sol. I've had many renegades and rascals on this podcast, but Nikita is rebelling not against staying the same, but against an entire industry. It takes courage and an abundance of self-trust to go against the grain when your values and core beliefs are being tested on a daily basis. But here is a woman with fire in her belly. Sol challenges the depressing statistics around diverse representation within the creative industries by being a creative studio with proactive women directing, producing, and driving the narrative. Nikita has built not only a space that boldly amplifies the voices of women shaping this industry, but also a whole community that is smashing stereotypes and being the change that is so desperately needed to see women thrive in careers they feel passionate about. If you've ever wondered what it's like behind the camera, building sets or designing productions, or if you're looking to start a revolution in your own industry, look no further. Nikita shares everything from starting out in advertising to finding production roles she loved and loathed, and finally calling time on outdated narcissistic agencies to set up her own nurturing, supportive community that puts humans first instead of last. Just a quick warning that this conversation does reference sexual abuse, and although no details are mentioned, some of you may find this triggering. Now, let's start this episode. Okay, I have been waiting for months to have this interview with the wonderful Nikita Dare. I love your name. Even your name to me says that you're, I don't know, some kind of game changer, some kind of badass that everybody should sit up and take notes on.
I used to hate my name growing up. It was a real, yes, it's been a development of love for sure.
I love it immediately. I think it's amazing. Anyway.
Thank you.
Do you want to tell everybody what your mischief is?
Oh, so I run what's my mischief? I think it obviously has to be Sol, but I started a production company to help women get into film. And I think that's probably my biggest mischief. That's probably my biggest, we go against the grain in lots of respects. And I try and educate brands, businesses, about why it's important to have women behind that creative, and it's not always received all that well sometimes. So I think that for me is my biggest driving force. But I think that's probably my biggest.
But looking at you when you say that, I see your face light up. So it's almost like, do you enjoy that challenge of having these ideas and have people say, oh, I'm not sure if I agree with that?
Yeah, I think so. I think a lot of my life I have spent working for narcissists and some pretty horrible people, and sat back and watched a lot of it, and then been a part of that abuse myself.
Really?
And I think having this opportunity to run Soul is like putting two fingers up to those people that, really made my life hell. And is the driving force behind everything I do. And sometimes whenever I get those wobbles where I'm like, I'm not qualified enough to do this, I'm not qualified enough to have this community that we've subsequently created on the back of Running Soul, I just remember, those experiences that I've had and the experiences that I've heard from other people. And that is my driving force to keep going. Someone said to me before that if something feels right, if something is meant for you and it feels right, then there will be so much mental clarity around how you want to do it and what you stand for and what it is. And I've always struggled in my life with careers. If anyone knows me really well, my family, it's always a bit of a running joke that, oh, Nikita's got a new job after 6 months, and oh, she's stopping careers or whatever. And I think it's because all of those experiences in my life has led me to this moment.
Yeah.
And I've never been so clear as to what we stand for, who we are, our existence. And every time I get that wobble, I seem to, I don't know why, but the universe just puts people in front of me that goes, keep going. This is so special,
Yeah.
And I think that is, I'm not a mischievously, like it's not, I'm not necessarily like people say to me all the time, or you do this and it's inspiring and you've really helped me and oh, you're such a badass. And I just sit there and I sort of laugh sometimes because I don't feel that way. I had a very conventional childhood, very straight-laced. And
so many of us did,
yeah, it was never encouraged to break the rules, and even now I think my family wince sometimes when I say, we're doing this, or I'm writing this script and it's going to be about this, and they sort of wince like, oh, that's okay, that's not necessarily conventional, but but I'm a very passionate person. That's something that's always been in me, is this passion and fire. And I've always felt like I'm here on this earth to do more than just exist. I want to do more in my life and I want to help people. And I've always had that fire in my belly, but I've just never known where to direct that fire. So I think that's why I've felt a bit lost in my life at times, because I've had all this energy and this drive, and I knew I wanted to do things differently, but I just didn't know how to. And I didn't, I didn't have the environment around me or the people around me to nurture that desire and that passion. And not on my own now, I'm in a relationship, but being free to go, right, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to be really unapologetic about it, has been amazing and has been so freeing. And and it kind of keeps me going. But yeah, I think I've got like these two sides of me. I think there's Nikita that's like the sensible one that sort of likes to have a lot of structure and order in her life and loves a spreadsheet. And then there's the other side of me that like just wants to jump on the back of a Harley and ride off into the sunset and flick everybody as I'm driving, or go to a festival like that we went to and be just free, and get that tattoo that I'd always dreamed of having and feeling really unapologetic about it. And so there's those two sides of me, I think, that sometimes clash, but I do think I'm the latter, really. I think I am the free spirit and the rebel.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, we did meet at Camp VC, didn't we? And
we did.
So Nikita drives into the field in a Mini, absolutely rammed with stuff. And I I looked at her as she asked me where to go. And I looked at the stuff in her car and I thought, where is she sleeping tonight? There's so much stuff in there. And then I proceeded to watch you. I proceeded to watch you like open up this amazing tent with all kinds of decorations and fairy lights and vintage trunks. And I was like, wow, where do you come from? And then you dropped the bombshell. You're like, oh yeah, I'm like a set designer, a production designer. And I was like, wow, there we go. There's where the vintage trunk comes from.
And this is what I mean about the whole, like, the two people, like, I would have loved to have just turned up on my dad's old Yamaha with my tent strapped to the back, and and I literally wear what I turned up in the whole weekend and just embrace everything. Instead, I come with with pots and pans and water filters, and I think I even had a cocktail shaker maker thing. So, oh god, cringe. I won't be doing that next year.
Oh, amazing. But I mean, so I got to know the really kind of fun, free spirit side of you, and I just thought that was phenomenal. But you do also come across as really, really passionate about what you've created. So what was the catalyst then? Where did that come from? You just described how you felt a bit lost and you had all this kind of energy, but you weren't sure where to direct it. So what was the catalyst that actually focused that energy and made you think, do you know what? I know what it is I'm going to do, and I'm going to go and do this.
I've always worked around the industry. I took a break after working for some horrible people because I think I just sort of had a bit of a confidence knock. The industry was just sort of just not geared up for women at all. It was just the most misogynistic, just a horrible environment to work in. So I took a break and went to work in marketing for a little while, and I kind of saw the same thing again. I think you see it more in creative industries. I haven't worked in any of the sort of different sectors necessarily, so it's probably the same across the board. But white men in suits really governing the message, and I've really struggled with that. It was COVID happened, and for a lot of us, it was a time of reflection, and I knew I wanted to get back into the industry, but I knew things needed to change. And I got made redundant anyway. And I thought, okay, well, this is the push that I needed to go back and not necessarily work in the production department. I wanted to work in more the creative areas. So I went and worked myself up to be an art director, which was amazing. But when that happened, it was around that time that I started putting the foundations together for Soul. So I started mood boarding. I started sort of playing around with words as to, who we were, what we stood for. I knew I needed to get that really clear in my head because I needed to tell people what I was doing. So I needed to prove to myself that it was the right thing.
Yeah.
And there wasn't anyone in the Southwest at the time that I knew of that was doing anything similar. So there was, lots of production companies popping up, but mostly ran by lads, groups of friends that would all come together and, and start these companies. But it was just me. And so that in itself was really daunting. And at that point as well, I had a mortgage. So there was no messing around either on that front. I needed to be making money quickly.
Yeah.
I had a bit of a wobble, and I went back to work. I was struggling with freelance life, and obviously post-COVID, everyone was on their knees anyway.
Yeah.
So I went back to work and worked for a really terrible agency. And I was only there for about 3 or 4 months, and I got made redundant again anyway, because it was poorly run. So I was just like, this is ridiculous. I just need to believe them. I'm so clear in my head, this is what I want to do. And I just was like, that's it. I'm doing it. I'm going full force into running it. But I still had to do my art direction on the side. I was still freelancing as an art director and a production designer, but also trying to build Soul as well, which was a challenge,
Yeah, I can imagine.
which was really tricky because I felt like I was running two businesses. And I've still not been able to do the full 100% shift into working at Soul just yet. And I'm hoping that will happen in January. I'm still managing my freelance work as well as trying to build up the company. But it was really important for me to make sure that this wasn't just, a dream. I wanted to really take this seriously and make sure that what we were doing was right and our set policies were in place and how we were going to run our productions was really clear. And I wanted to make sure as well that the clientele that we were going to work with really truly understood what we were and what we stood for, and our commitment to the girls that worked with us. So because of that, it's taken us a lot longer, I guess, we haven't grown as quickly as I'd hoped, because I think the amount of time that I've spent trying to perfect that and make sure that was really clear. We did take on one of our first big clients, did burn me in a way. It wasn't the right clientele for us. And I think that in itself was like, okay, yes, you can't get sucked in by just taking on anything because it'll pay. It has to be the right thing.
Yeah.
So that's been a bit of a challenge, but at the same time, this community has grown out of running the production, which I never thought, well, I knew it would happen, but not to this extent. There was a huge call for more female talent in the Southwest to come forward, especially in production and in departments that don't necessarily get a huge amount of female representation.
What would they be?
So your directors, a lot of the time, the directors on set are male. Your lighting department, so the ones that are carrying around big C stands and big lights. Camera department, women subsequent, they're always in the creative areas. So your art direction, your prop styling, your makeup artists, your stylists. But yeah, it's a real shame because there's just not as many women working in those other areas, and there's lots of reasons why. But as women as well, we are humble by nature, and sometimes we don't necessarily feel like we have the skill sets to move into those areas. I know so many people that could easily direct their own projects, but have just never felt necessarily comfortable in stepping up. Or a few of the girls have said to me, do you know what, actually, I don't even want to do this role anymore. I want to move into this department. But no one's ever allowed them the opportunity just to do that. Mm-hmm. It's always been, no, you need to, keep shadowing this person, or, your time will come, but you need to do loads of different tests and show that you can, and do the work before you can do it, which is crazy because we don't all get the opportunity to do that. So yeah, the community has grown subsequently, me running Soul, which has been amazing, but that in itself has also turned into a full-time job, because there's such a need for someone to nurture that community and grow it. We have nearly 100 people in our WhatsApp group now for the Southwest, which is amazing. And it's such a lovely group to be in, because I'm in other film groups and there's a lot of egos that flutter around the group. And I think people are quite scared sometimes to just open up.
Yeah.
But in our group, we are really open and honest about when things are really tough. And this year has been really, really difficult for everybody. And it's just been nice sometimes just to go, I'm actually having a really bad day. And I have felt, even as the founder, that I have been comfortable to, it's such an amazing safe space for me to even go, girls, I'm really struggling. And I feel like sometimes I should be the one that needs to be the backbone.
But it just comes back to that, when you can be vulnerable, you create those kind of connections. And especially as a manager, as a leader, as a founder, I think when the vulnerability comes from you, it kind of sets the precedence for everybody else, and they kind of they all kind of breathe a sigh of relief and go, okay, in that case, let me tell you about my day, or let me tell you what's going on in my life. It's when the people at the top don't want to know, or they just kind of switch off to it, nobody else feels like they can open their mouth.
Yeah, which is, the experience that I've had working for these big corporates, that, these people at the top just don't feel human. And that was something that is one of our company, words that we associate ourselves with is that human element, that we want everyone to feel like we're just one big family, and we help one another, which is also why I've spent so much time trying to write our set policies, making sure that everyone feels welcome. And I mentioned female a lot, but we have people in the group that identify as non-binary as well, and it's people of any background, anyone that has felt like they've been underrepresented within the industry. And there's a lot of us.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And it's actually quite scary when you talk to people about their experiences, and what we've had to do as creatives to get to where we are. That's been difficult as well to hear. And it just gives me the fire to keep going and to keep doing right by these girls, because we need that environment to flourish. And it is amazing. Like when you get these girls and these people together, it just, the energy that it creates.
Are you thinking of a particular project that you've worked on as you're saying that?
No, not a particular project. I think we have regular meetups. We have, we try and do some regular coffee mornings and stuff, and just being in a room together.
Okay, so it's not just a WhatsApp group. There's actually...
No, we actually meet up as well.
Lovely.
Yeah. So we try and meet up as much as we can. Everyone's schedules all over the place, so we just kind of fire dates in as to when everyone's available. But we have regular meetups, and sometimes they're working meetups. We'll meet up and have breakfast together, and some of us will have to socialize and be on our laptops, but actually it's really nice, because even just being in one another's presence is such a lovely thing. But it is lovely, and it just gives us a chance as well to get to know one another and ask questions. And there's people in our group that don't even work in production. So Georgia, who you met as well, that does the longboarding, she's in our group because she's interested in getting to production. And there's loads of other people in that group as well, from other companies, other producers. So they're always firing jobs in our group as well. So it's not just the work that comes from Soul. It's other people's projects as well that they need support with. So we're just like one big family, which is so nice. And it's just slowly growing, which is really nice. And the amount of talent that's now in that group is incredible. It's really amazing to be a part of.
It's interesting, like, to hear you talk about it though, because I often talk about mischief being really fun and causing a bit of playful disruption. But when I hear you talk, I realise how serious it is. Being disruptive, you have to have a certain resilience and a certain strength of character, because as you said at the beginning, you are going against the grain. I quite often play up the fun side of everything, because I come from a period in my life where I wasn't feeling that much fun. But at the same time, I can really see how when you do set out to change things and be a change maker, it actually becomes really serious business at times, because you do have to then pick your road and go down it, don't you?
100%. And I think I've had some terrible experiences in my life where I've worked for some horrific people, people that have literally, I thought they were going to put me in an early grave. I was really, really depressed, really had no confidence. Just horrific, really. And I never, ever, ever want anyone to feel like they have to go through things like that, similar experiences to that, to make it. And when I say make it, not even just being successful, just trying to work in an industry. Like no one should have to give up anything and sacrifice anything like that to that respect for the sake of a career. And the industry is hard enough anyway, without having to deal with egos, without having to deal with narcissism. When you're on set, you're working 13, 14-hour days. You are knackered. And to be surrounded by people that, just to go on set and not be badgered, not be, I've had experiences where I've been sexually abused by clients on set. I've had that experience. And it was, the production company's responsibility to make sure that shouldn't happen. But, there's not even that amount of level of care. It's that dismissive, just get the job done and go home kind of attitude. And yeah, it's really not good at all.
But, which I know from having spoken to you has been a really big part of the foundations of Sol, hasn't it? It's been that kind of level of care that I have never seen anywhere else.
Yeah, it's and I'm not the only one that's experienced those things, and it's not just from clients. That's happened to people have said to me that they've experienced that from crew. When you put in those types of hours, sometimes you're having to, stay on location in places. People's safety is your number one priority. And regardless of the client work, regardless of what we have to do, the safety and welfare of the crew is so important. Yeah. And that's not always a number one priority for a lot of production companies. And that's something that, we hold so much value to. We have open conversations with the girls around even things like if they have so something that we've started to put into place is that we have conversations with everyone individually, crew wise, to find out what their any health conditions that we need to be made aware of. And I'm not just talking about, yes, I have diabetes, or yes, I have this allergy. I'm talking about even conditions that affect women hormonally as well. So I've had cases where I've had a number of girls with endometriosis on set working, and they are in agony. They're in so much pain. So that's something that we've tried to address and think, well, how can we make sure that, women with hormonal changes and hormonal issues are catered for on set as well, because they're invisible conditions, but they affect us so much. So there's even things like that, I am so passionate about as well, is making sure that we're catering for everybody. But coming back to your point about taking the role seriously, I didn't want us to be seen as a feminist movement either. I think that was something that, we're all feminists in our own right, because we should be, but I didn't want us to fall into the trap of people working with us just because they're ticking boxes. There's a lot of that happening at the moment, this tick boxing exercise where clients and production companies will say, well, we need to be seen to be working with more women, so we'll just put them in any department. That doesn't work for us. We make sure that the right people are in the right departments. And there has been times where I've had jobs where, unfortunately, I've not been able to fulfill having a female within that role. But I would never put someone in that position that they didn't feel ready for, because that can also have the adverse effect and make them lose their confidence, So we're always trying to help people to upskill and develop into positions, but sometimes, we can't always fulfill it.
See, even that's a really refreshing attitude. I mean, there's still a lot to be said for people not feeling threatened by their jobs, by other people coming through to steal their jobs, and actually giving them the support and helping them build their confidence, as you say.
Yeah. And yeah, this year, I've been really trying to develop more quality relationships with, potential clients that see the benefit in working with us. They see the benefit in working with an all-female crew. They want to support that. And I think this is why it's taken probably us a little bit longer to grow as quickly as probably other production companies have, because we've been so selective with the conversations that we've been having, so that we start as we mean to go on. And that's really, really important for me and for all the girls. They want to work with brands that value them being there, not just it being a tick box exercise.
Yeah.
And it comes down to the fact also that, we're trying to raise more awareness around pro-age. That's something that we are super, super passionate about. I'm really, really passionate about that. I'm also really, really busy at the moment trying to raise more awareness around the fact that there's just a lack of understanding around the female consumer. There's such a discord between what we see out there versus what women actually want to see.
Oh yeah, I totally agree.
And they're pretty much the decision makers on a lot of buying purchases, but we just completely get ignored in advertisements and commercials. So it's kind of, again, like raising awareness around the role that women play. We're not better than men. We're just equal, and we need to be seen as that.
I'm excited to continue partnering with Polite Club, a brand whose mission is to change the attitude towards vulnerability and to encourage more conversation around it in order to increase real human connection. Connection is one of my core values, as you know, so to bring more people together and help you rebel against staying the same, Polite Club are offering a cheeky 10% discount when you use the code MISCHIEF at the checkout. 50% of the profits from this organic and rebellious brand are used to fund proactive suicide prevention in the form of coaching, support, and awareness raising. So get involved and become a vulnerable with us. For more info on the brand or to buy online, go to politeclub.co.uk or follow on Instagram at politeclubhq. P.S. If you are a small business doing things differently, an independent brand disrupting the status quo, or simply an unconventional, adventurous individual looking to create a positive impact, I'd love to hear from you about getting your story out there in the world and promoting you. DM me on Instagram at The Mischief Movement. Right, now on with the show.
I do get overwhelmed sometimes with the feeling of this, what I'm trying to do is much bigger than me. And I feel that pressure now and again, and I feel that weight on my shoulders. I feel like I've kind of opened up a hornet's nest, and now I'm like trying to try and build and try and brain and try and control and try and upscale what I've just unleashed. But the feedback that I get is incredible, and that always keeps me going and reassures me that it's hard and it's tough, but I have to keep going.
Yeah.
And I couldn't be doing anything else.
Yeah.
I really couldn't.
And I think actually just talking to you like this, it's one thing to start a business with a very strong kind of ethos about how you want to run that business. But the fact that you've simultaneously created this community means that even when you do feel the pressure, without really even intending to build a community, you've created your own support network where you all support each other. So I guess when things do get really, really heavy, you can go there. You've got somewhere that you can kind of go and talk with people who understand what you're going through. And I'm sure not everybody has that. And I know, as you said, it was a bit of a kind of, unexpectedly, we've created this community. But I think the fact that you have that alongside your business must make such a difference.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's why I launched, so we launched something called the Sides recently. So that's basically like our blog platform that sits on the website.
Mm-hmm.
The reason for that was to showcase this community, and their talents. And that's something that, like I said, it's become a bit of a full-time job in itself, trying to grow that side of things because it's so needed. But I wanted a platform where I could interview people and showcase all these amazing people that are so overly overlooked and unseen a lot of the time. And people don't, like I said, women are so bad at not, shouting from the rooftops what they can do and their abilities, which I think is a good thing and a bad thing. But I wanted to have this platform to talk about subjects that we were really, really passionate about. So now that we have that, that's good. And I'm trying to build more of a content plan in and around that, to make sure that's kept up to date, and we, we talk about things that are really important to us. And I think I'm hoping as well that in turn will show potential clients what we stand for, and if they resonate with what we're saying, then they are our people and we want to work with them. I can see the business splitting into two at some point, and for them to be not two separate things. They'll always be, the same company, but I think it needs two people managing the both sides of the business,
it's a lot, isn't it?
It's a lot. I've realized that this year, that actually there's all these people that are desperate for that community. They want it, and they're so eager to do meetups. They're so eager to give us their time. But that needs to be nurtured. And like I said, it's a full-time job.
Can I ask you about your journey into the industry, into the production industry?
Yeah.
How did it begin?
I left school and didn't really know what I wanted to do. Didn't even finish my A levels. I think I did my AS. I didn't finish my A levels because I had no intention of going to university. So I was like, well, what's the point of me carrying on doing another year in a school I really didn't really like that much? And I went to work in advertising and media, and I really, really loved that job. I was in a really small team. It just ticked all my boxes. And then I moved them to Cheltenham, and I think that's when I struggled a lot to try and find my way. I was sort of in and out of jobs for years living in Cheltenham. I really struggled living there. But I fell into working as a production manager and for an agency there. And that was a really hard experience, like I said. But it was a big learning for me. And I got let go of that job on the grounds of mental health, which is just crazy. But the reason why he had to let go of me was because I was basically on maternity cover and I didn't even realize. So this girl came back into work one day and said, "Oh, you're sitting in my chair." I'm back on maternity, and I didn't even realize I was on maternity cover. So I was let go. But instead of just being honest and being like, sorry, I didn't tell you were on maternity cover, I was just fired on the grounds of mental health, which was a bit of a joke. So I had a bit of a knock after that, left and went to work in marketing after that. So I worked brand and agency side, and then I went and worked for a beautiful skincare brand, but again, that had its own problems, and they got me redundant from that. And then that's when I knew I needed to get back into working in production, and I just started assisting. So I had before I was working as a production manager and a producer, eventually a producer, but I knew I didn't want to necessarily do that. I wanted to be in the art department. So I just started assisting. I was emailing around and working for free and doing everything you have to do to just get going. And then there is an agency that I work with still, who are amazing. They're based in Cardiff. They're a really lovely company, and they gave me my first break, I guess, as an art director. And when you land your first break and it goes well, that's when, you get more and more work from people. And I just started to build up those credits. And then, so sort of have been doing that since COVID. So what's that?
2020,
2020.
Yeah.
And and then I started, I started to cement what I wanted to do with Soul in 2020, but I knew that I was far off from making it happen. But I had the foundations down on paper, and I was mood boarding, and I was trying to dream up what this brand would look like and this company would look like. But ultimately, my production design and my art direction was what was paying the bills, so I had to keep doing that. But I still love doing that. And someone said to me the other day, would you still do that through Soul? And I said, depending on the job, I would do it. But I would love to just direct, produce through Soul, and take a bit of a step back and let other people work in those positions and help them and develop them. Yeah, the industry has changed massively. Clients want more for nothing.
That's probably across any industry, I would guess.
Across every industry, every industry. And that comes with its own challenges then. Directors have bigger dreams and aspirations as to what they want to do. They're trying to push the boundaries of what can be done in the timescales and the budgets given. And the job just seems to be getting harder and harder all of the time. And I'm starting to lose enjoyment for it. And I'm an absolute perfectionist, and I give everything when I do these jobs, and I'm left feeling absolutely exhausted. So I don't think I can sustain that for very much longer. And I just feel like my heart is with Soul now. And I've just been, we've just been waiting for this sort of break to come where I can feel confident to go, no, I'm not going to take that job, and I'm just going to manage Soul. But it's just been that scary transition over. But we're nearly there now, which is good,
Amazing.
is good. So hopefully, I think when that happens, I think things will change significantly, because then all of my time and effort and energy will be on that and growing the business, which is where my heart is.
Yeah, but the best things, they do take time. So,
they do.
Slowly but surely.
They do.
That's the way.
And I have to be, I have to go easy on myself as well, because I think sometimes I do get frustrated. I think, why hasn't this come yet? Why hasn't this happened yet? Or why isn't this where I thought it would be? But a little while ago, I did this exercise where I just wrote down what's happened in the last 3-4 years, or 3 years of having Soul. I've moved lots. I've gone through a divorce. I haven't even hit 30 yet, and all these massive life things have been thrown at me, and I had to go, okay, well, a lot's happened as well. Like the fact that you're just living and breathing right now is probably amazing in itself. Like, go easy on yourself,
I'm so happy that you have got that level of self-compassion.
Yeah, it's taken me a while to get there, but I've definitely learned that. And I think also having an amazing support system around me, my partner, the girls, my family, they're all amazing for just reassuring me that things will come. Things, it'll have its time. And what I'm doing is I'm not just trying to grow a business for the sake of growing a business. I'm not just trying to get rich quick. That's never been the plan, and I don't think it'll ever will be.
You'd never be on this podcast if that was your agenda.
That's very true. That's very true. But what I'm trying to do is go against the grain. I'm trying to build something that is not conventional. It's not really seen as a necessity. Women have been fighting for their rights for so long and continue to do so.
Yeah.
You're not just trying to build a business after this life-changing world event that's happened. you're also trying to do something that involves going against everything that you've been conditioned to believe in the jobs that you've had through your career.
Yeah.
And that's in itself very difficult.
You know, the older I get, the more I feel like it's not really a question of learning and growing. It's sometimes more a question of unlearning the stuff that,
Yes.
you know.
So true. It's so true. It's so true. I feel like this year has been that, the unlearning of everything that I was told. Everything, not to say that, that was incorrect, but my parents did their best, and I adore them both. But I do feel like you've so hit the nail on the head, where I've definitely been trying to do that. Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. And not to be afraid to go, gee, this doesn't sit right with me. This doesn't feel right. And then voicing that too. That's been also something that I've had to learn to do, is sort of voice when I don't feel like something's quite right. Because a lot of the time people go, well, yeah, I agree with you, because that also has happened to me. And yeah, of course you should question that. That isn't right. And you're like, oh, right. Okay. Yeah. Okay, cool. Next.
What do you think has helped then in terms of finding your voice? Has it been having those open conversations with other people in the industry, or has it been a sense of confidence that's grown from within you?
I think it's just I think it's been a mixture of a few things. I think suppression has been a big thing for me, being sort of suppressed to feel like I couldn't say what was on my mind, or to be honest, or I never felt like I was in the right environment that allowed me to express my feelings and my truth. Now I do. And I feel like nothing can stop me now. And I don't think my confidence has necessarily grown, but I feel a support system. So because of that, I feel like I can do anything that I dream to do, because I know there's people around me now that encourage me to do what I believe in, and to trust in that voice or the fire that's in my belly. I think that's been a big part of it.
I love that.
Yeah, I don't think overnight I've definitely been like, yeah, I'm so much more confident now. Definitely not. I still doubt a lot of my daily decisions, but being surrounded by the right people has made such an incredible difference to my life.
You gave me goosebumps when you said that. Oh, so lovely.
Yeah.
What do you do for fun, Nikita, when you're not going for a production company world domination?
Oh God, what do I do for fun? I love eating. I really love food. I just love exploring. I think that's something that I've learned to do more. Like, just sit there and go, what do I fancy doing today? I'm going to go and do that. I love to shop. I love to eat. I love sightseeing. I love being a tourist in my own town. I live near Bath, so I regularly pop there and just have a good mooch around the shops. And I love a good mooch around the shops. I love spending money that I don't have. But
it's coming.
Yeah, I
yeah. Hang in there, it's coming.
And then I'll end up spending it on crap, which I usually do. But I also love thrifting. Like, everything that's in my house now, I've bought secondhand. I have some amazing vintage shops around me, amazing flea markets that happen regularly, and I just love going and having like a budget, having like 50 quid in cash in my pocket, and just trying to find as much as I can for that much. But yeah, I love thrifting. I love design. I love homewares. I've always wanted to have my own lifestyle company as well, alongside school, making my own stuff. So making my own pieces of art, sourcing push-ins and throws and all homeware stuff.
Does that side of you feed into your role when you're art directing, or is that something different? Because
yes,
in fact, I'm going to ask you to explain to me the roles. because as somebody who's never who's never had anything to do with any kind of film industry or anything, you told me you'd been an art director, production designer. Was that right?
Yeah, production designer and a producer.
And you actually would like to direct. So could you? I'll say it's for the benefit of the listeners, but it's not. It's for the benefit of me, so I can understand all the different roles. Could you explain them?
Yeah, it's a bit different when it comes to so you've got your commercials and your ads, the stuff you see on TV, the stuff you get bombarded with on YouTube when you go and watch something or a music video. A lot of the time, the crew sizes are a lot smaller. They're a lot more slimmed down. So a lot of the time you find yourself doing multiple roles.
Okay.
So in those instances, I tend to work with a director on their vision. And they tell me, this is what I'd love to do. And then the producer tells me, this is the budget. And then I go back to the director and say, no, we can't do any of that. We need to think of something a bit different. So as a production designer, I will design what those scenes could look like. I come up with visual references, mood boards. And then on the day, I will create the scene. So sometimes that's flipping rooms, houses, or building stuff in a studio. So designing it and making it happen, pulling it all together. A big part of that is sourcing everything. So as a buyer, I am really passionate about secondhand buying. The industry has so much waste. It's terrifying, the amount of waste that happens. And I mean, I've been on commercials where it's about, recycling and the amount of waste that comes out of those shoots. And you think, hang on, the whole message is around recycling, and the amount, not once has a client asked me, where are you sourcing these items? Are we hiring them over buying them? What are we doing with the props afterwards? Are you know, what materials can be recycled? So there's a lot of waste, which is a huge, huge thing, and is something that we try and address in the productions that we do. How best we can make sure that our productions are as clean as possible. And, a lot of productions now are even hiring environmental coordinators to make sure that they're calculating what's being used, what can be recycled, which is amazing. That's something that's, being asked for more. And then on the day, then I'm literally, once I've put everything out and once I've done everything, I will stand at a monitor and make sure that I'm watching everything, making sure that things aren't, people leave coffee cups and water bottles on set all of the time, which really bugs me. So it's my job to constantly be looking at what's going on in the scene, making sure things are correct. If there's clocks in the scene, do they need to be changed? It's just sort of things like that. And then continuity.
Yeah, that's an attention for detail.
Massive attention to detail. I think that's my favorite part of the job is the observation and the continuity, the attention to detail. And yeah, I love doing that. So I worked on my first feature film last year, and that was incredible. But in those situations, you're a part of a bigger team. So then the production designers are separate to the art directors. You might have people that are purely managing props. So there'll be a prop master that will literally just be in charge of making sure that hires go back and things are ordered per scene. And you've got buyers. Yeah. So in those situations, it's nicer because all the roles are spread out and you work as a team to do something. A lot of the time commercials, you've if you get given an assistant, that's amazing. And if you get someone to do the set build, amazing. It's like you're always trying to push for those roles. But and that's another thing that's always wound me up, is that a lot of the departments, they will get given that are usually heavily male dominated. They will get given 2 assistants like that. But it's always the art department that always suffers. We're always asking for more help, and usually we're told, there's no budget when a gaffer will have two sparks. So that's always really annoying. So yeah, that's kind of how the role is spit out. But yeah, the bigger the budget, the less not the less work you have to do, but the more you can breathe in your role. When a lot of why this year has been really difficult is because the budgets have been so tight. You've had to do everything. I've had to do everything. And that's not been enjoyable at all, because it doesn't allow you to have time for real creativity and real problem solving, or to really design something that is fully recyclable, or you just don't have enough time to do that. And then everything feels a bit rushed and everything feels a bit thrown together, and there's been a lot of that will do attitude this year, which I've really struggled with, because that's not how I work.
Yeah. Presumably that's across the board though, is it? That's just an industry-wide problem.
That's just kind of like just everyone is just so desperate to get the work that they are taking jobs even when they're not confident they can do the jobs. And AI has been an issue, like directors or clients have been coming up with these AI references of things that they want to create when it's just not doable with the budgets that they have, or the capabilities of the team or whatever. So that's been a big issue as well. So yeah, it's been a tough year all around, but looking forward to a new year.
Yeah.
It's a fresh start.
Well, you're still standing.
True. Yeah, true. Well, sat down with a glass of wine. But yeah.
Figuratively speaking. If anybody's listening and thinking, oh my God, this sounds like such a tough gig, what would you say to them, do you think?
I think sometimes the film industry, you can go into it with rose-tinted glasses, and you have to be realistic with it. Is very hard. It's a really hard industry to work in. One, you're sometimes away from family, you're away from home, you're pulling lots of hours, especially in the art department. I've never felt so broken physically before than I have working in that department, in that industry, because it's very, it's really tiring. But I think if you get in with the right people, then it's such a rewarding and incredible industry to work in. I would not be doing it if I thought that it wasn't worth it. The buzz that you get when you're on set with like-minded people is just the best feeling in the world. And then when you see something that you've been working on go live on TV, or it's on social media and people are talking about it, or you work on a film that has this incredible narrative and you've created something so beautifully to look at, it's just the most euphoric feeling in the world. All the pain that you've gone through, all the cuts and bruises, when you see the product of your hard work there in front of you, it's just the best feeling in the world.
Yeah, I think like so many areas of creative industries in general, I think would probably say the same thing.
Yeah, definitely. And I think also, I don't ever want anyone to be scared off from pursuing a career in production at all. I think companies like mine are a really great place to start, because getting with the right people that will nurture you and will teach you and won't let you learn the hard way, I think that's so important. I think there's too many of those companies around that are like, just keep grafting, and then it'll pay off one day.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that at all. I don't think you should. I think a lot of people as well have been working in positions that they are so overly qualified for too long, because they've not had the environment to nurture them or to pull them through or to get them into positions that they're more qualified in quicker.
Yeah.
I think that's so important. And as women as well, I think we need even more nourishment sometimes. We give so much of ourselves when we do. I've seen that time and time again. where these women just give everything that they have to produce what they do, but they don't necessarily have the environment to protect them, nurture them, look after them, keep them safe, keeping them safe. And I think if we get given situations where we have those environments, you will get the best work out of us women. Yeah. You really will, And I see it all the time. And I'm so excited for the projects that we want to work on, because you're going to get the best out of these women, because they are doing something they love. They're in an environment they feel supported in and protected in. They are proud to be working with this client. The subject they find interesting, or it has this amazing moral element to it that they believe in and support in. When you have all these factors come together and they just work, it's just pure magic. It is incredible. And I think that's what we're going to be famous for. I know that's what we're going to be famous for, is just people, the most talented people working for us, because they feel so nurtured in their environment.
It's beautiful. What are some of the highlights that you've experienced since you have set up Sol?
Oh, that's a good question. I think there's been there's been two situations that have been tear-jerking moments for me, where I remember I did my first meetup. So I'd organised this cocktail evening, and I'd paid for things to be branded, and I'd put, basically just did like this open tab on the bar, and I'd put a lot of investment in getting this night together, and it was going to be my first social. And at first only one person turned up, and it was so lovely, but bless her, I was talking to her, but in my head, that's all I was thinking, is no one else is going to turn up, and I'm going to look so stupid. And within about an hour, I had like 20 more people turn up, and it was like the best night ever. And I got in the car, and one of the girls said to me, it's so amazing what you're doing, and thank you so much, and you're such an incredible person for doing this. And I just sat there bawling I dropped her off, and then I got back in the car, and I just started bawling my eyes out, because just seeing everyone's faces, and everyone was so excited to meet each other, and there was no egos, there was no jealousy, it was just pure love. And these girls had, some of them had never met before, and that has happened all the meetups we've had, and the girls all to come together, and I'm sat there, and I sort of always take a bit of a step back and watching everyone interact, and it's such a beautiful thing to witness. And for me, that's probably been the highlights, definitely. I think when we have our first, I think we've had jobs this year where we've worked together, but I don't feel like it's ever been anything close to what I work on for some of these other brands and agencies. I think when we have our first one, where it's completely managed by Sol, the client is dealing with us, we have a full female crew, like it's just going to be the most, I think, emotional day of my life, because it will be the start of something that I know is just going to grow from there. And we're so close to having that it's within touching distance now, which
is phenomenal.
Super exciting. But I think it's going to be the best day. It's going to really be the best day when that happens. And very emotional. I think really, really emotional. Yeah. The jobs this year, there's always been something not right. I've not been able to fulfill there being an all female crew, or I've just not been able to fulfill something, or the client's not been quite right for us, but even the smaller jobs that we've had this year, I met Fee from Girls Who Grind Coffee through just introductions on social, and then we ended up working with them, and we did some photography for some of their new lines, and that was an amazing experience, and I've met so many incredible people this year. I think that has been my highlight above nothing else. Like, we've made no money this year, but the people that I have now that I can call my friends is just, that's what's given me all the confidence that I have, or the or the little confidence I have. My heart feels so full, even after a tough year.
Yeah.
Both professionally and personally. Just meeting all these girls has been incredible. the absolute highlight of my life, for sure.
You heard the phrase, your vibe attracts your tribe. I think that's what's happened to you.
Yeah. Yes. I literally haven't heard that in so long.
I think that's what's happened to you.
Tribe.
You know, I think it just takes one person to step up and be a light, and everybody else is suddenly attracted to them, and you just kind of magnify the feeling in the room. And, you know, that seems to me what you're doing while you're out there building up these contacts and laying the foundations for what's to come. Like you say, I think it's going to take off. It's just quietly building and building and building and getting those right people in. And just, you know, the most beautiful thing is the fact that you're being authentically yourself, you know, and you're demonstrating to everybody else that they can be their authentic selves as well. And there's none of this, well, you have to behave in a particular way because the industry says this, and you have to do things that way because it's always been done that way. It's like, actually, if there is a different way of doing it, let's do it. Let's have a conversation about it. Let's be really open with each other. And you're constructing a new way. So if it does feel hard, that's exactly why, because it's new and it hasn't been done before. And you're a little bit of a pioneer. Yeah. So whilst you're sat there telling me that, you know, you don't always have that much confidence, I just hope that I can boost you a little bit and remind you of this phenomenal thing that you're creating. And the reason it feels hard is because you're not following in anybody's footsteps. You're paving the way for everybody else. And it's a hard place to be in. But as you said, it's also a really rewarding place.
Yeah, it is. And I think that's why I started reading that book as well. Is it The Mountain Is You? Or because I have felt like I just need that clarity and that reassurance that your limit is what you set yourself, and that limit can be moved. And that's how I feel at the moment, that I just need a reminder that I'm so close to getting things where we want it to be. And, you know, ultimately my biggest goal in life is to help all these incredible women have the best careers of their lives, and to help all the budding creatives come through, all these amazing women that have these great ideas for films or series, you know, for us to make this happen. You know, I've got no desire to be this. You know, I look at some of these women sometimes, and they kind of go the opposite way. They almost they dream of becoming the CEO. It's been so hard for them to get to where they've got to, that they've had to walk over so many people to get there, because they felt like that was that's what they needed to do. That was the only way of getting their voices heard, which is so sad, because it's not. And I've seen that in my career. I've been the product of that, where I've had a female boss, that they feel intimidated, or they've felt belittled, or, you know, they've had their own journey and their own careers, but they've felt like they had to be, you know, the woman Miranda off Devil Wears Prada to get to where they need to be. And, you know, and I've also worked with those women, you know, and I have no interest in working with those women. I feel sorry for them, that they feel like they've had to do that to get to where they feel like they need to be. And we have no interest as a company with working with people like that. But the people that stand together and want to help one another, they are our people, you know. And I feel like that is our tribe, and that is the tribe that we're growing. Those are the girls that are, you know, they're helping one another, and they're openly honest and vulnerable and human, and they're our people. That is me. That is who I am as a person. And if we can build our morals and our foundations as a company based on those things, then we have to succeed. There is no failure in that, because we're too good of a people for it to happen to, you know. And I think all these incredible people that I have around me are so unbelievably talented, that we are this quiet, not quiet, but we're this sort of, I think people do really underestimate us, and it's going to be an amazing day when we get to produce things that we feel passionate about, and people go, oh, well, they can do it, or I didn't know they were capable of doing that, or I didn't know she could direct, or all these things. It's going to be an amazing day.
There's a little meme that kind of went around on social media that said, "Oh, underestimate me, that'll be fun." I kind of like that. It's a bit like, yeah, just wait.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like in my personal life, I had a lot of sorting out to do.
Yeah.
And then it was my business life. And now I feel like I'm slowly building up from the foundations, like you said, repicking everything that I've learned, everything I've been taught, or everything that I thought was how I was meant to do this, and reworking and relearning who I am as a person, how I work. The amount of, like, something we've not even touched on, which is something that's, the amount of females that I work with that have ADHD is so common in female creatives, and or to be on the spectrum, or and the support that they don't have, for having these conditions. Like I was told years ago that I say years ago, actually it wasn't that long ago, that I had ADHD, and immediately I was like, oh my God, like, how is this going to affect my work? But actually it's an amazing thing, because it's allowed me to understand who I am as a person, and to understand how I work and how my brain works. And it's allowed me the freedom to be easy on myself, and to go, that's fine. It just means that, of course you are. You're a creative through and through. Of course you're going to be on the spectrum somehow, but it's not a negative. This is just how we work around it. So the amount of conversations in that respect I've had with women that are, have struggled, because, when you read up about conditions like ADHD, a lot of the symptoms are based off the examinations that they've done on male brains. And that's very different to a female brain. So, it's even things like that between the hormones, our mental health, is we have so many things against us. But when we, like I said, when we have that nurturing environment, and it's supportive and it's caring and it's safe, you get the best work out of these girls. And for me, that's such an honor to see and watch and be a part of.
Amazing. Before we wrap this up, I wanted to ask you if you've got any dream clients that you want to put out there to the universe on this podcast, and see if they kind of drop into your lap by 2024.
Oh my God, that would be
Stranger
amazing.
things have happened. I like to think this podcast is a little bit mischievous and magical, so we'll see if it can work some magic.
Oh, that's good. I would love for us to work with some charity-based companies that are for women. So, like Women's Aid. I was trying to reach out to Welsh Women's Aid this year, trying to do more work with them. It's extremely difficult and a really hard subject, but I would love to do something like that. I don't have a particular brand in mind, but I would love to work with like a brand that's really well known for being masculine. Their target market is actually women, because women buy their product for their husbands or their boyfriends or whatever. And we come up with this ad that, is about, or acknowledging that women are the buyers, not the men. That would be amazing. That would be incredible. And then I would love to, I'm writing a series at the moment. It's a short film, but I want it to be a series.
You only just mentioned this at the end.
Sorry. Because I'm nervous about it. I still haven't really I have the idea, but I'm just trying to cement it in my head, and I'm writing the script at the moment, but it's it's a hard one. But that's going to be that would be amazing to be able to get the funding to produce that. That would be incredible. Yeah, I don't know how much I should say about it really, but it's
well, I could poke you and press you to give me more and more information, but it depends how much you want to share.
I don't know what to say. Should I say I don't know?
No, don't. No, I can see on your face you're like, I don't know if I want to. No, it's okay. But when you have decided that you want to share, come back on the podcast and give me the exclusive, please.
Yes, I will, because I'll be probably trying to raise money to produce it. But that would be amazing. And I think if I could get some charities on board for that, because that will be touching, subjects around abuse, around the health system failing women in general, the lack of awareness around hormonal health and what that does to us. It's really about that, about all these different topics from a man's perspective, set in a house share with 4 boys. So it's an interesting one. It's a bit grittier, and it's a bit like, I think it will make a few people feel uncomfortable. So I think it's a bit of an interesting one, which is why it's taken me a long time to really.
Come on, you're no stranger to making people uncomfortable.
This is true. This is very true. And I also have a friend who has written these incredible short stories about women that hit the menopause and basically go on a rampage and kill everybody that's done her wrong in her life.
Wow.
So I'd also love to develop those into a short story or a series and try and pitch that. So yeah, there's a few things. Yeah, a female charity of something, but women's aid would be amazing. Yeah. Working with a brand that is known for its masculinity, it's a male brand. But actually, when you look at the demographics and their data, it's women that buy their products, but they just get ignored in the ads. And then producing our films, that would be the dream.
It's going to happen.
I'm putting it out there. I'm putting it out there for the universe to catch and to make happen. But yeah.
Oh, Nikita, it's been so lovely speaking to you. Where can people find out more about Sol?
So we've got a website, which is solagency.co.uk. Very boring. I don't like to call us an agency. I've got a bit of I hate that word, agency. I feel like it's cold. I really struggle with it. So I've been slowly trying to tell people that we're Sol Productions rather than agency. So I probably should change the website at some point. But right now we're solagency.co.uk.
Sol Productions. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's sort of it's softer and it's a bit more, you don't know where it can go. Agency, I've had so many bad agency experiences that I just feel like the word agency is like, it kind of makes me go, ooh, I hate that word. Just reminds me of all those men that I've worked for have run their agencies badly. So there is a part of me that wants to get rid of agency, and it's slowly being filtered out. And then we're on Instagram. So we are Sol & Co. So when I started Sol, there was sort of 2 names for it. It was Sol Agency, which is now going to be Productions, and then Sol & Co. And the & Co. was this community that it's not just us, it's this community. So we still use that. So if you see the & Co., that's what that means.
I did a similar thing actually last year. Yeah. I think it only lasted like a couple of months, and then I changed it back again. But it was going to be like Mischief & Co. for the same reason. It was like, this kind of community.
I know, it's hard.
It's hard when you're trying to pick a name.
It is so difficult. And I've been through so many versions of that branding. But we finally settled on a brand look this year, which we're so happy about. That was a bit more universal. Like I said, we're trying to appeal to all underrepresented communities, and I just didn't feel like the brand was really, it felt too feminine. So I've stripped it back, and it is what it is now, which I love. But my dream also, which I would love to be able to do next year, is to open a hub space for the girls to work in. So I would potentially be looking at the Bristol area, just because that's where a lot of everyone is sort of based around.
Share your dream.
That would be amazing to have like a shared community workspace for us to work in, and for us to have our own little coffee shop in there as well. But yeah, just for us to have a space that we can work from, that would be amazing, because these meetups are so nice and it's lovely to get together, but actually just to be able to just work together, you know, and it doesn't need to be all on the same projects. It can literally just be sat, but you know, the girls are around you and everyone's having a bit of a laugh. That would just be the dream. So that would be something that I'm going to try and see if I can try and get funding for next year, because that would just be amazing to do that. But like I said, I hope I haven't scared anyone off to work in production. It's not a scary place. You just need the right people around you and the right support system, which is what we're proud to give. Drop us a DM, drop us an email, introduce yourself, and yeah, like I said, you don't need to be working in production already. Like I said, there's people like Georgia who hasn't worked in production at all. She just loves the idea of getting into producing or working in that department. So, you know, she's in our group. It's just creative, like-minded people. But that's who we're trying to appeal to.
Fantastic. Well, I wish you every success, and keep me posted on how it all goes.
Yes, I will. It's going to be an exciting few months.
Yeah, hang on to the roller coaster because it hasn't finished yet.
It's true. Let's just see through autumn and Christmas. But
thank you so much, Nikita.
Thank you.
It was a slightly longer one today, but packed with valuable insights. So here are my 10 takeaways from this powerful conversation with Nikita. 1. When you encounter a wobble and you start to question yourself, come back to your why. Why does this thing matter to you so much? It will really help you to overcome that wobble and keep moving forward. 2. If something feels right and is meant for you, you will have so much mental clarity around how you want to do it and what you stand for. 3. Surrounding yourself with the right people in the right environment to nurture your desire and passion will bring clarity, confidence, and allow your ideas to flourish. 4. You can be sensible and structured and still be a free spirit. And perhaps the coexistence of these two sides is actually what keeps life interesting. 5. Redundancy can be seen as a knockback or a push forward, and not every negative situation is sent to break you. Just as the pandemic provided space for Sol to build its foundations, your toughest challenge could also become your greatest opportunity to grow. 6. Mood boards are a great place to start playing around with your ideas. It's a fun way to explore colours, words, imagery, and values that then become the foundation of your bigger vision. 7. When you can believe 100% in yourself and your capacity to bring your idea to life, you'll find another layer of strength to help make it happen. 8. You don't have to quit your job in order to build something on your terms. Nikita freelanced alongside Sol, and at the time of publishing this, continues to do so, which allows her to build slowly and sustainably without the pressure of money right from the get-go. 9. Being a change maker or going against the grain requires a thick skin and will make you more resilient. And number 10, your limitations are only what you set yourself, and those limits can always be moved. Oh, I hope you loved today's episode and it made you think differently, or perhaps nudged you into changing something in your life that's not working for you. I'd love to give you a shout out right here on the podcast too, so do let me know what you think, what you'd like to hear more of, or how you've been inspired. Let's keep in touch over on Instagram at The Mischief Movement. It's changed, did you see that? Or click the link in the show notes to sign up to my Mischief Mail newsletter, where you'll get exclusive insights on upcoming episodes and your chance to submit questions to future guests. But shh, don't tell anyone, it's our secret. Now, please keep spreading the word about the podcast. You're doing an amazing job. And I'm also super grateful for your 5-star ratings on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, because these seriously help my mission to inspire and empower more people like us to choose mischief over mediocre. Have a great week and keep making mischief. Ciao.